What's going on, everybody? This is Dan Snyder with Wiser Productions, bringing you Front 9 Round 2 coverage of the 2019 Daceyland Open, presented by Infinite Discs. I am joined by co-TD and Dacey legend, Chuck Edmond.
How's it going, everyone? This is going to be a fantastic day of disc golf. We have 4 really great competitors on a card together. Some of them tore it up during the during the first round at Borderland. And it's a beautiful day. The conditions are perfect. It's not too hot. It's not too windy. It's just going to be a great day of disc golf.
Yeah, we have a fantastic lead card for you. We've got Kyle Moriarty out of Worcester, Massachusetts, shooting an 11 down. Followed closely by Shane Wyatt, Joe Mercieri, and Jake Morris by way of PDGA, all shooting 9 down in the first round. All right, we're going to start off with hole 1, par 4, 329 feet. Chuck, what's going on with this hole?
So with this hole, you have a fairly tight fairway leading up to your first landing zone, which is going to be just in front of that bridge. And then you're shooting up and over the creek, which is out of bounds, to the green, which is down through another series of trees, opens up right past this little mud pit to the ditches. And if you throw the hole correctly, it's really just a 1-shot, 2-shot, and then putt.
All right, so first up, we got Kyle Moriarty here. He's flicking his harp.
And that looks like it's right down to that landing zone that I had mentioned. That looks like a great shot.
And we got that reaction from Kyle a lot the start of this round, kind of just putting up his hands in the air like, okay, I guess that's a good shot. That was Jake Morris just doing the same exact thing, also flicking his harp. Next up, Joe Mercieri. Looks like forehand's the common play here, Chuck.
I mean, that's pretty much everyone I play with. It's either a forehand with either a harp or an A2 or some sort of similar disc like that.
And Shane here is taking the semi-unconventional route, just doing what Shane does. That was a sidewinder there.
I've seen him go for over the creek with a leopard off of the tee, and it's a ridiculous shot. It's so silly to hit, and yet I've seen him be in second circle, so it clearly works.
That was Kyle with his Pioneer, hitting that forehand gap. He's left with about 40 feet. Shane here with a Firebird. Somehow hits the gap, Chuck, and he's inside the circle.
Which, it's Shane Wyatt inside the circle. That's pretty much a tap-in.
Yeah, he plays this course a lot more than most, and he always finds those little gaps. That was Jake. There is OB on the left side there as you're walking over the bridge. Luckily, he finds a tree and kicks him back toward the green. And Joe, his drive looked like it was out of bounds, but he got hung up just on the edge.
Really lucked out there. That's a really easy spot to roll OB.
Ooh, and almost cans it, but he'll have an easy tap-in 3 from there. And now here's Kyle just outside the circle, I'd say about 40, 45 feet. And never really gave it a chance. Next up, Jake Morris. Just off the top of the basket, and he'll settle for par. Shane from just inside the circle.
Ooh, that got exciting for a second.
Almost wanted to spit out, and we see the reaction there, but he'll walk away with a 3, and he'll move to 10 under. Kyle will tap in his par. One thing I noticed about Kyle's putting, and I've filmed him before, very methodical, based on routine, and he's like a robot on the practice or on the green itself.
I've actually never been able to play with Kyle, and I've never seen him play. So one of the things that I've been most excited about for this is actually being able to watch him play as an outsider.
I've gotten to film Kyle twice now, once at NIFA Finals last year, and obviously Daceyland. He carries like 9 discs and just knows exactly what every single one of them does. And it's very fun to watch him carve up some courses. Moving on to hole 2, par 3, 224 feet. What's going on, Chuck?
Hole 2 at Dacey.
Perfect.
I think,
Perfect reaction.
I think even the Dacey regulars, the admins, the people who take care of the course upkeep, it's really kind of a spray and pray hole. You have a gap off to the left, which we're seeing Joe throw either a putter turnover or a fairway driver forehand, or you do the shot that Shane looks like he's lining up.
Yeah, this is his gator here.
Which is just your standard, just hyzer, which you might go deep and bounce around. You might go deep and be parked. You might come up shallow and bounce around. You might come up shallow and be parked.
This is a play I see a lot as a Dacey regular. The high forehand turnover, and I told Kyle after that shot, you could probably throw that 10 more times. 9 times out of 10, it might be parked. It's such a luck shot with this. And I think that was a buzz from Jake there.
Looked like he might have played a little bit of Plinko once he got down to the end, so it'll be interesting to see where he ended up.
And here we got Kyle for his second. Gives it a healthy bid. He's throwing a gauntlet for those longer range jump putts.
2 is a short 3 that's easy to take a 4 on, so getting hung up early and being able to be up there for that putt, I'd be happy with that if I was in his place.
And if there's one person who can nail a 2 on this hole, it's this guy.
Oh,
just
I
off
really
the
wanted
top
to see that
of
going
the
from
basket,
there.
but gets a fortunate roll. He'll tap in for his 3. And Joe taking the left-hand gap. Got a pretty good look for 2.
Oh, that hurts. Looked like that was that inside?
That was just on the right side. He was inside the circle, yeah, just off the right side of the basket. He'll settle for his par. Kyle taps in. Shane taps in. And Joe, unfortunately, will tap in for his 3 as well. The banter between Shane and Kyle the first few holes was phenomenal to listen to. Just 2 of the better New England disc golfers going back and forth, talking about Dacey, and getting an outside perspective was great. So Kyle stay at 11. Shane and Jake will be at 10. Joe at 9 under. Moving on to hole 3, and I believe there's been some work done on this hole.
We have had a lot of work done in this hole. I will take this opportunity to give a huge shout out to Jeremiah Libby, who unfortunately recently moved back to Pennsylvania, but did an unbelievable amount of work in this hole. Moved the basket, created 2 new landing zones. We have this gorgeous little OB area with an island green. It's a really challenging but really fun par 4. It's a par 4 that if you can get a long drive that's going to drop down left pretty quickly, you have a good look at having it up for a 3. And with some of the guys who are playing on this card right now, I would not be at all surprised to see people running for even a 2.
Yeah, that was Joe, unfortunately, catching an early tree here. Shane.
And that's that long drive that's going to drop left, but he got caught up with the tree.
It hits one of Dacey's famous guardian trees, but he still might have a look to clear the gap here. It's still kind of early on in the round, so he might take that chance over the OB. Next up, we got Kyle. Believe this is his anvil. Very overstable mid-range.
I love this disc. I use the anvil a lot at Dacey because you just need something that's going to go straight and then just get to the ground.
Next up, we got Jake. He's throwing a buzz, and looks like he's throwing it very well.
That looks like, I couldn't see where it came down. If it had gone, if you're a little deep, you might be in a bit of trouble. But if you come up a little bit short of the far rough, you have a good look at the green.
Yeah, there is a hyzer gap on the far side that's been opened up, but it's still very difficult to hit. This shot from Kyle here, this is his
That
felon.
looks fantastic.
It was absolutely
wow.
phenomenal. He is within 10 feet, and he looked at this gap and he said, okay, I think I can hit this. And he just ripped on a forehand felon. We got Shane releasing kind of early, doesn't hit the gap, but does stay inbounds, thankfully.
Okay, so Jake ended up a little bit deep, but there is an opening, so it looks like he just has a nice light and hyzer up at the green.
Hey.
Oh, if that can flatten out and stay in bounds, and it looks like he's in bounds from there.
Yep, there is a little bit of room after the OB rope on the right side there. He does stay up on the hill, so he'll have a putt for his 3. Joe, unfortunately, finds the OB, hits one of those guardian trees. Shane somehow found a gap on this side.
But of course he did.
And throws it 40 feet long.
Which, okay, fine.
Shane Wyatt problems.
It's Shane Wyatt. That's totally fine. Oh.
Joe just off the top of the basket, and very early on, he was very frustrated with his round.
Yep, and he cans it.
And Shane
What a
Wyatt
great par
doing
save.
Shane Wyatt things, saving his par.
Oh,
Jake leaving that just a little low. He really wanted that putt.
that's a great birdie to get on a hole like this. You're definitely picking up a hole in a lot of the field when you can three hole 3.
Going back to earlier, I think Kyle stood over that putt for at least 20 to 25 seconds, which just speaks on his attention to his repetition and his routine, which makes him that much better of a player. The fact that he can stick to his routine like that and not let anything faze him just shows wonders for his game. So Kyle's going to move up to 12 down. Shane and Jake stay at 10 and 9 respectively, and Joe's going to drop a couple strokes. Moving on to hole 4, par 3, 312 feet. The hole I least like to start on when we play League.
And the hole that is hands down one of my favorite holes at Dacey. I love the guardian trees off of the tee. I love the fairway, which is now an actual fairway and not just a patch of poison ivy. And then getting out, and you have 2 gaps to work with into that gorgeous little pine grove at the end. The hole is beautiful. It's a fun hole to play. And you have a nice hyzer lane on the right if you're a right-hand backhand. And then you do have a tight gap on that left-hand side that I've seen some people take some chances down, and you can end up in a really nice spot.
And Kyle does take that hyzer gap, leaving himself about 40 feet on the left side. Shane here, this is a Firebird.
Oh, and he hits that gap beautifully.
Flips it up beautifully, and I
he's
couldn't
gonna be-
see from the tee pad
Oh,
why this
wow.
shot got behind the basket. I assumed it was just skipped by the basket and nearly missed
what
an
a
ace.
drive.
Jake here getting real skinny on that right side, but plays that hyzer flip beautifully.
Wow.
Gets himself inside the circle. He'll have a putt for 2. Next up, Joe. I think Joe throws 4 discs, and they're all dyed the same, whether it be white or yellow. I believe that was a St. Pro on a hyzer flip.
Looked like that might have turned a little bit more than he wanted to, and he's a little off to the right, which means that he's going to have some thick little pine trees to deal with.
Yeah, the wind can get kind of swirly on this hole. It was down for most of the round, but if you get that wind that swirls in and gives you a bit of a headwind, it's very easy to turn your disc over to the right side.
Oh, it's super easy to turn your disc. I've lined this shot up more times than I can count, known exactly what I was going to do. It hits the gap, it gets out into the fairway, and then all of a sudden the disc just turns.
And that was a fantastic putt from Kyle there. He picks up the 2, and you're picking up a stroke on most of the field if you can pick up a 2 here.
Absolutely. Although, based on what we saw here, we have 3 guys all with 2 looks, which you don't see very often.
Yeah, Jake just leaving that putt a little high, and unfortunately he is still out. But he cleans up the 3. He'll stay at 9 under.
When someone misses their 2 putt and they're still outside before someone else is about to clean up for their deuce.
And I was just about to say, we haven't seen Shane putt yet.
Incredible drive.
Unbelievable with the roll behind the basket, and picks up the 2. So Kyle and Shane will each drop a stroke. They'll be at 13 and 11. Still a 2-horse race, but Jake also with the par. He's still in it.
Absolutely, and especially at a course like Dacey. I mean, there are holes that can just... There's a little bit of OB, there are some early trees, there are some holes where it's really easy to give up 2-3 strokes.
Dacey has many signature holes that define the course, this being one of them. Hole 5, par 3, basket on top of the rock. It's very difficult too.
It's a fun hole to play. You have a few options here. You can either take it safe and just like punch a mid-range up, have it drop down, and then you just have a nice, easy putter approach at the basket. Or you can get a little bit crazy like I expect Shane's about to.
I mean, if there's anything Shane doesn't do is play conventionally.
And rip an overstable fairway driver up and high, and if you can beat that tree that it looks like he didn't beat, you can actually skip up into the circle, which is just incredible to watch when you see it happen.
Yeah, Shane caught one of those guardian trees and dropped straight down. Jake, with his drive, has a bit of a decision to make. He is in the Open. He does have an opportunity for the 2. We'll see what he does. And Joe... we were making a joke that Joe actually had the worst looking drive on this hole and actually ended up in an okay spot. Plays the simple hyzer.
It's not bad at all. If you get caught up early and you have a straight look at the basket and can put it up there for a drop in 3, you're in a good spot.
Shane playing the forehand up. Kyle playing the forehand up. He sat up there. He'll have an easy putt for his par. I really wanted Shane to run that.
I'm actually a little surprised that he didn't.
Jake looked like he gave that a go, but James came up just short, so it looks like everybody will be tapping him for their
From that angle, it's tough to even tell if he was actually running it or just trying to lay it up for a safe drop.
Yeah, you see a lot of half goes on this green, a lot of high lofted putts that have a chance to hit the basket, but if they don't, they'll just sit nicely in front.
It's a scary look because if you've never played the course, the angles from this really haven't given a good indication. There is a steep drop-off behind that basket. I mean, directly be off to that left of that basket, it drops straight down about 8 feet. No incline, no nothing, just end of the rock and then down.
All right, so a nice little barbecue there. Kyle stays at 13, Shane at 11, Joe at -8, Jake Morris -9 as we move on to hole 6.
Hole 6 is a hole that has changed quite a bit over the years. There used to be 2 very big trees in this hole that came down in a storm about 2 years ago, and they took down a lot of little trees, and when those guys came down, a lot of the fairway opened up. It's much more green, it's much less brushy, and you just have a few really nice, clean-looking lines to get to the basket. This is a hole at Dacey that you see a lot of ace runs at. You see a lot of guys doing some fun shots.
Yeah, we saw Kyle taking the newly opened forehand gap. Shane going with a turnover putter, trying to flex it back. And you can see it just on the path there, which is an okay shot. He might have that tree to contend with, but he'll have a putt. Jake trying to follow suit, leaves his out just a little wide to the left.
If you end up a little far from the basket, this can be a scary one to go to because no matter what angle you're coming at the basket from, it's an uphill putt with nothing behind you to act as a backstop. So it's, unless you're within an easy 15, 20 feet, you just got a death putt no matter what else you do.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a mini hole 5.
It's very similar to a smaller hole 5 in terms of where the basket location is.
And we can see that's what happens when you don't draw metal on your putt. Even if you do draw metal, you still have that risk of rolling down.
Number of times you see a putter hit cage, drop straight down, catch edge, and roll even farther back from where your initial lie was. It can get very frustrating.
So Jake will have some work to clean up his 4. Shane just hitting the top nub.
Really thought he had that until it just clicked off.
And that's a great putt from Jake.
It stinks that was for a 4, but that's a great bogey save.
Yeah, just watching him go back and forth makes this hole look a lot tougher than it is. Kyle unfortunately spits out for his 2. He quickly taps in for his par. And Joe will tap in for the 2 and also won the CTP on this hole.
That's a great location for a drive.
Shane will tap in for his 3. And I think I should have put a mic on Shane just to have him do live commentary for this round.
I don't know if we would have wanted that, because I can't even imagine the number of times he would have uttered the phrase, "I want to burn this place down."
So after hole 6, Kyle stays at 13 under, Shane at 11, Joe picks up a shot, moves to 9 down, Jake unfortunately drops a shot, and he'll move down to 8 under. So we move on, hole 7, arguably the most controversial hole on this course now, thanks to aforementioned Jeremiah Libby.
So what we're flying over right now, where you see down on the left, is just this yucky little wetland area, and it does get brought up a lot. So that is area that the disc golfers are supposed to stay out of per the town, and in order to facilitate that, we have added this OB, which makes the hole a little bit tougher and definitely adds to a little bit of frustration. Because it's a blind OB, you do need to get about 250 straight down before you start fading off to the left. And what also adds to it is, as you can see from that big tree directly in front of you that 2 of the pros just hit, even just clearing that gap can be challenging.
Yeah, we saw Joe hit that one guardian tree right in the middle. Kyle kicked off to the right side.
And Shane does basically exactly what you want to do, which it looks like Jake is about to do, which is just put it straight down that gap and just let the disc fade and do its thing. And you actually have a really nice backstop behind the basket with a fairly large boulder. So even if you hit and skip, you're probably not skipping too far.
Yeah, Shane threw one of his many rocks. Jake with the buzz. Kyle here throwing a harp for his upshot and does what Kyle Moriarty does. He actually had an okay line from over there because he was essentially playing from the short tees, which is very wide open and very forgiving. Joe with the forehand up. Unfortunately catches a late tree, so he'll have some work to do for his par.
Long putt.
Unfortunately falls just short, so he'll have to settle for a 4. Jake had a little bit of struggle trying to get his lie here. There's some brush around the green.
Yeah, landing right next to one of those boulders could be interesting if you're having to stretch out and around and not have to worry about clipping the boulder on your putt.
But he cans the birdie anyway. He will move to 9 under. And Kyle just doing Kyle things, saving his par, keeping the lead on Shane.
That's got to be a frustrating par for someone of his caliber. This is part of the series of holes that a lot of the higher rated players would definitely expect to birdie. Once you get into that 6, 7, 8, that's one that, especially during a league, you hear those 8-hole players immediately knowing that they're out of cash contention if they don't birdie those 3 holes.
So after hole 7, Kyle stays at 13. Shane cuts the lead to 1, moving down to 12 under. Joe will drop a shot, go to 8. Jake stays at 9, and we'll move on to hole 8.
Hole 8 is, even though it doesn't have any of the OB or the wetland, is very much a similar shot as hole 7. You just want to punch something that's just going to go straight, 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 and then just start to fade out a little bit at the end. You do have a forehand line. It's a tough one, and you don't see a lot of people do it unless people who are super forehand dominant. Most people who throw backhand are just trying to throw something dead straight.
Yeah, and this was the site of, if you've seen Raivis's Instagram, the site where Shane cracked the same disc that he's throwing right now into a tree and split it in 2.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, another one of Raivis's blooper reels included Shane throwing his rock straight into the middle of a tree, splitting it in 2.
Oh, that's brutal. And Shane loves his rocks. That had to hurt.
Owns probably close to 10 or 15 white max weight Casey Pro rocks, and he swears by them.
Right there. Nice shot.
That was a Sarek, the overmold putter, and basically just carves up the hole exactly how you want to. Hyzer flip up the middle.
We were talking about, just something straight down the middle.
Joe tries the hyzer gap. That doesn't exist, but unfortunately hits a late tree.
Yeah, unfortunately couldn't actually see the discs fly, but his body language kind of told you everything you needed to know.
Yeah, he finds himself in Jurassic Park over here.
That can be 8-8 can be brutal if you get off of the fairway. It doesn't look it from the tee box or from the fairway itself, but once you find your disc and turn around, you're asking for someone to yell for you so that you have some sort of pinpoint to see where the fairway actually is.
Jake from outside circle 1 gives it a good bid, but just a little too much on it. Joe here forced to lay up because you can't see from the camera angle too much, but there is a very steep drop off past the basket here. Kyle doesn't mind that, drops in his 2.
Easy deuce for him there. That was a great drive off the tee.
Jake, sunglasses in the shade, taps in his 3. Shane has 1 guardian tree on the backside to deal with.
Shouldn't be too much of an issue. And
No, catches it a little low, but still able to straddle around and pick up his 2. And Joe, unfortunately, drops yet another shot, and he'll move down to 7 under. All right, hole 9, par 3, 315 feet. Maybe one of the most photographed holes on this course for the hanging basket at the end.
I love this hole. The hole itself is, the fairway is open but tight. I love the hanging basket. That anytime you have an elevated basket, I think it just adds a really nice element to the putt. And it's a tough 3 that guys with arms like this are capable of deucing. So I'm excited to see what the 4 of them can do here.
And Shane goes with the hyzer flip up the right side. Fades out just a little early, but anytime you can get up to the top of the hill and be pin high with the basket, it's a pretty good drive.
Yeah, you're going to be in good shape there. Oh, and he just looks like he's running straight at it, not even worrying about trying to go the anhyzer that you normally see.
Yeah, this is his felon. Kyle ripping on one of those misprint felons. Very overstable, but he has that thing worked in, so it flies dead straight. I believe this is an FD from Jake.
That looked like it didn't come out high enough.
He left that very low. Hits the first little gap in the middle there, but not what he wanted. He wants a little more height on that. And again, Joe throws 4 discs, all dyed the same. I believe this is a warship that he throws very far, but catches that late tree.
Yeah, but the way that started to flip and turn, I'm pretty sure you're right on the warship.
That was a very good line, and a disc that he knows very well. And a forehand out. Should have an easy par. One thing about Jake's game is he is very good with a forehand putter. Has a lot of nice touch shots, able to hit his lines.
He's very consistent with it. He may not throw it a mile, but he's going to throw it exactly where he wants to throw it, dead straight.
Yeah, that was Kyle with a jump putt offer. Doesn't really want to run that. He'll settle for a 3 or a 3 look.
Shane's got a tough look. There's one of those trees directly at him, has to hyzer it up and around.
Yeah, if you're on the left side there, you really don't have much of a look at the basket without putting a lot of angle on your disc. Kyle knew that right out of his hand that he had missed it left. And really the first mistake we've seen from Kyle throughout the whole round.
It's a shame that this is another one of those holes that if you can get that deuce. Oh, no, and he catches that.
The look on Jake's face as he turned around and watched his disc roll away was so deflating.
That actually didn't end up as badly as it could. As that started to roll away, that caught that rock and it slowed it down enough. If that hadn't caught that rock, I've seen people's discs get up an edge, and that was a fantastic bogey save.
I love the reaction from Jake after that. Just wave the hand, forget about it. I just got to make these putts more tough. It struggles from everybody putting on this hole. Joe has to settle for 4. Shane's looking really good with the par
Shane
there.
with his par is looking like he's going to pick a stroke up on the card.
Yeah, he's going to pick up a stroke on the card, and more importantly, he's going to pick up a stroke on Kyle. He's going to drop to 13 under, and after 9 holes, we got a tie at the top of the leaderboard.
This is one of those holes I was talking about earlier that can really change the look on the race.
Yeah, so we got Kyle and Shane at 13 under. Joe will drop to 6 under. Jake also takes a 4, dropping to 8 under. And that's going to do it for the front 9 round 2 coverage of the Daceyland Open presented by Infinite Discs. We'll see you on the back 9.